Great. I think all this check is complete, Michael. That was pretty quick. We can hear you, we can see you, and we can see your presentation.
Yes.
Everything said. Didn't even need 3 minutes there.
Right, right. Just one moment. Let me close the door of my room. Okay. So we still have like 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, where are you based, Michael?
I based in Munich, in
Berlin.
Germany. Right.
I read your biography on your webpage. Quite a journey
Oh,
you had there.
yes, yes, yes.
No, no, and his site is fantastic. Means the site, the
Yeah,
way we develop is fantastic.
right.
With lot of information means he has taken really lot of trouble to get all this information in
Yeah,
detail.
it's an amazing collection and as well as
Yeah,
information.
and for each and every stamp, he contacts other people to get correct more and more reliable information. Taking a lot of time actually. I'm seeing his work on this thing. He tries to contact many people to get the correct information, and then he will put on this site.
It's true, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
because I think that just place stamp in the album is kind of boring, right? You have to try to get some information, try to learn something about it.
Correct,
yeah, it
correct,
makes
correct.
very interesting. Some of those articles out there, they're also pretty nice. I enjoyed them.
Oh,
And thanks to Dr. Vartak, actually, I came to know
And
about all this work. So,
no, no, he is very comfortable. When you anyone if you contact him, he is comfortable with everyone. So everyone will be of great help from him.
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah. Michael, Rajgopal, he's expert in birds actually. So I'm going
Birds,
to
okay.
suggest him to have little work on bird fossils from your side and other thing. And if we can do something about evolution of birds through stamps, something like that. So that
Yeah,
will
so
be
why
very
not?
interesting.
There are many stamps of Archaeopteryx and
Yeah,
some other
right,
birds,
correct, correct, correct.
like
yeah,
terror birds, or I think in stamp of Peru, there even some kind of
right,
albatross.
Correct, correct.
right, exactly.
Right,
But
right.
overall, I think fossils, bird fossils are comparatively rare compared to mammals or reptiles and those
It's
classes.
true, yes.
Ha.
Yes,
Yes.
it's true, yes. So I
Uh,
think the most stamps are of dinosaurs,
Yeah.
right.
and even if dinosaurs are probably the most stamped just of the big five,
Yeah. They're
like the like Tyrannosaurus or Stegosaurus or Triceratops.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
But you can complete the stamp collection with some other stuff, like like postmarks, for example,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
or
yeah.
some
Uh,
postcards or some letters.
right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So maybe letters from experts in the fossil of birds or institutions that are dealing with birds or with fossil of
Okay.
birds. Oh,
But
I see Stefan Green is here. Hi,
Yeah.
Stefan.
mhm.
Uh,
But you started your collection, Miss, in the beginning with different themes, and then you focused on fossils, or from
well,
beginning?
I started when I was just a boy,
Yeah.
don't know, 10. And in this time, I lived in the Soviet Union. So to
Yeah.
get any stamp from abroad, it was already a challenge.
Yeah. Correct.
Right.
And most of the stamps that was available is just was like actually Soviet stamp and some other actual countries from around. So I was
Uh-huh.
collecting, as a boy,
Okay.
a little bit of everything. But I always have a passion to the actually prehistorical
Okay. Okay.
animals or fossils or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And when I restarted my collection, probably something like 15 years ago, then I just concentrate me on the paleontology.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Mhm.
Because, with all these a modern stamp is very difficult
Yeah,
to.
you must have some theme, then only it is convenient. Otherwise,
Right, you have to
difficult.
actually concentrate on something because otherwise you will be overflowed.
Correct.
Right.
And I think now you have practically each and every stamp issued on fossils. Practically, we can say.
Yeah. Yes, I think that most stamp of fossils are okay because it's not like reconstruction of prehistoric animals that some postal authority try to make some fancy images or fancy reconstructions,
Okay, okay.
like this famous company from Lithuania who can draw like pink stegosaur or something like this.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
आपण 6:30 बरोबर करूयात.
Yeah, we have 5 more minutes to go,
Yeah.
and
टोमॅटो फाटक बाई तुला
people are
म्हणलं
already. Yeah,
फाटक
I
मॅडम.
can already see Awad sir has joined, Sharma
Yeah,
sir has joined.
yes.
There, we'll give few more minutes for people to join as well.
Okay.
Hello,
Great.
good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Awad sir.
Yes, sir.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. Good evening. Hello, good evening, Michael, sir.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Neil. Hi.
He is a botanist and he is based in Mumbai.
Mumbai. Yeah. I teach botany.
Okay. Nice to meet you. There are some very nice stamps of prehistoric plants of India, right?
Yeah.
In
Yes.
Lucknow.
Yes.
So
Actually,
stamps covers.
due to Vartak,
Awesome.
sir, I got some of the very good collection of the stamps. Of late, I have also started taking interest in this field.
Right.
It's very interesting.
But
I saw your
unfortunately,
paper also.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
it's
Thank you.
very interesting.
Unfortunately, there are not that many stamps of prehistorical plants, but
Yeah, correct. Comparatively less fossils
Yes.
on plants.
right.
Yeah.
Sharma sir is also here. I thought I saw him.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, sir is there.
Stephen Green, some joined.
Yeah.
I don't know from where he has joined.
Michael knows him, but looks like he's having some trouble.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so Stefan actually contacted me after one of my publication about Charles Darwin in the magazine. He lived in UK and very interested in the topic of Charles Darwin.
Okay.
But as I understood that he collects actually everything related to the Charles Darwin, not only postage stamps, but all kind of books and all other printed materials.
Is there a museum dedicated to paleontology in Berlin?
Berlin, yes, sure. There's a very big actually museum called Natural History Museum of Berlin. And you can see there many dinosaurs. There was very big expedition in what is now actually Tanzania, I think, in the beginning of 1900s. It was German East Africa, I think. It was a colony. And near to Dar el Salam, at area of Tendagur, there was very big excavation site.
Okay.
They brought probably like 20 or 30 tons of fossils in Berlin, and were able to actually maintain quite few big actual dinosaurs. And in Germany, we have actually many actually museums related to the paleontology. In the near to Dresden, we have Chemnitz, and Chemnitz is famous by petrified forest.
Petrified, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and they even issue a stamp in 2003, I think, that show these trunks. And if you go there, in the middle of the museum, there a dozen of big trunks.
Okay.
So you can see.
That's pretty interesting. You should, I think, worth seeing sometime.
Right.
Sharma sir, are you there? Sharma
Yes,
sir.
I am very much there.
Yeah, hello sir. Sharma
Hello,
sir,
hello.
yeah, was the additional director of Zoological Survey of India before he retired, and he is a very well-known entomologist, and
Okay.
yeah, he's been supporting this right from the beginning. I also see Rotarian Nagajyoti from last time.
Yes, sir. It is very interesting meetings from your side and great learning. I'm
Yeah.
actually an environmentalist and associated with environmental consultancy last 20 years. Overall, my work experience
Mhm.
goes with 26 years. I worked with industries. That is my experience, industrial practical experience. I'm a field-oriented woman. I basically go for the monitoring and for the water, air pollution, and related to environment impact assessment report we actually prepare on behalf of sugar and distillery industry.
Okay.
So I'm one of the experts.
Welcome, madam.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Okay, I think people will continue to join for next few minutes, and meanwhile, I think we should get started.
Okay.
Welcome everyone. Hearty welcome to all of you in this beautiful monsoon evening here. My name is Rajgopal Patil, and I welcome you on behalf of Maharashtra Vruksha Samvardhini and Institute of Natural History Education and Research, Pune, and in association with IQAC and the Department of Botany, our Jhunjhunwala College in Mumbai. We are very happy to have all of you for this online session this evening. Quick but important housekeeping instructions. Let's keep our microphones on mute unless we are speaking. And also questions are very welcome, and we will take them at the end of the talk. And during the talk, if you have something, you can put those in the chat box and we will take those up as time permits. So let's get started. We continue our series of online talks in memory of the well-known botanist and conservationist Dr. V.D. Vartak in his centenary year. Dr. Vartak was very well known for his research in plant taxonomy as well as ethnobotany, particularly the sacred groves. But probably a little less known thing about him is his other passion, philately. He was a avid collector of postal stamps, covers, and he had amassed quite a large collection. He also exhibited these on panels, especially on botany as well as other topics. So it is apt that our topic today is on philately, and we can employ it to learn about very interesting topics. And today we are going to go on a voyage. Charles Darwin took a voyage 194 years ago that led to the transformation in our understanding of life on Earth. To take us on this voyage again today, we have the renowned paleophilatelist Michael Kogan. And introducing him today would be Dr. Ajit Vartak. Vartak, sir.
Good evening, everyone. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce today's guest speaker, renowned paleophilatelist Michael Kogan. He developed an interest in stamp collecting at the age of 10. As a kid, he dreamed of becoming a paleontologist, but eventually graduated with degree in electrical engineering. For the past decade, he has been working as a freelance microchip designer. Since 2010, he has dedicated himself more seriously to philately, with a particular focus on fossil-themed stamps. His extensive study and in-depth knowledge in this area sometimes matches or even beats that of professional paleontologist. Today, he is one of the few persons having practically every philatelic material on fossils issued all over the world. He is a member of following philatelic organizations: International Association of Philatelic Journalists and Authors, AIJP, the American Topical Association, ATA, American Philatelic Society, APS, German Philatelic Association, Mining and Geosciences Study Group, and he is presently director and editor of Paleontology Division of Biophilately magazine of Biology Study Unit of ATA. He has won many medals for his website. With this short introduction, now I request Michael to deliver his talk. Michael.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, Dr. Vartak. So yes, so today we will talk about Charles Darwin and its representation in the Philately. So Charles Darwin was an English naturalist whose scientific theory of the development of all form of life through the process of natural selection became the foundation of modern evolutionary study and transformed our understanding of the development of life on Earth. He was not the first who tried to explain animal sexual diversity and their origin, but he was the first who was able to explain where the different animals and plants came from and how they adapted to their environment by purely natural causes. Darwin's central idea on evolution remains powerful today and continue to drive many fields of biological studies, including paleontology and paleoanthropology. So in the first part, we will just go quickly through the Charles Darwin life, illustrated by commemorative stamps and postmarks. Charles Darwin was born on February 12, 1809, in Shrewsbury, England, and was the fifth of 6 children in the Wellesley family of medical doctor and financier Robert Darwin and his wife Susan. The 8-year-old Charles already had a taste for the natural history and collecting when he joined the day school, particularly the observation and collection of birds and insects. In school, Charles was not really impressive student, but only chemistry lessons interested him. When he back from school, he continued chemistry experiments with his elder brother Erasmus in a home laboratory. The stamp of Cuba here shows Charles Darwin at the age of 31, and in the background here we can see his parents' house, the mound where he grew up. In the 3 photos here from the Wikipedia show Darwin in different ages. So the first photo is age of 7, then age of 45 and 59. Darwin began actually grow his beard only when he was actually 53. It was in 1862. 3 years after publication of his most famous book about origin of species. However, most postage stamps show Charles Darwin portrait in the from later in life. So perhaps because the older Darwin represents the wise man, accomplished scientist, the one who changed how we understand life on Earth. However, by the time of the publication of the origin of species, in the age of 15, he looked like on the second photo. Now about his parents. The picture of Charles Darwin's mother is a very rare picture of her, made at the age of 28, only 3 years before marriage. She was a daughter and elder child of Joshua Whitwood, and she is depicted on on only one philatelic object on the cover of the booklet, the story of Widwood. And she sits here in the middle of this picture on the horse. So his father, Joshua Widwood, was English potter and entrepreneur and manufacturer who transformed the making of pottery from cottage craft to the international industry. In the age of 29, he started its own business and established the Widwood Company, which is still around today. He is often called the father of English potter and was commemorated on several postage stamps, including the stamp from Great Britain, said Pioneers of the Industrial Revolution from 2009. In 1780, after the death of his business partner, Joshua asked his friend Erasmus Darwin for help in managing his business. As a result of close association that grew up between Widwood and Darwin families, Joshua's daughter Susan and Erasmus' son Robert married in 1796. After the death of Joshua, Susan inherited 25,000 pounds, that equivalent today something like 2.7 millions. She died in 1818 from a cancer when Darwin was only 8 years old. Now, his father, Robert Darwin, was a medical doctor and investor. He invested money that he inherited from his father and the money inherited by his wife in housing, buying the freehold of several buildings in Shrewsbury and getting income from rent. Robert Darwin was the son of Erasmus Darwin, who was English physician, one of the key thinkers in natural philosophy, and inventor, Freemason, and poet. Unfortunately, there are no philatelic materials that showed either Robert or Erasmus Darwin. Being a part of such a wealthy family, Charles Darwin was able to concentrate on the things that he loved without caring about his finance. Now, in October 1825, Charles Darwin went to medical school of the University of Edinburgh to join his elder brother Erasmus as a request of his father, who hoped that his son will follow his medical footsteps. Darwin, however, neglected his study because he found the lecture dull and surgery distressing. Darwin was influenced by several notable figures in Edinburgh. He studied under Robert Jameson, a geologist and professor of natural history, whose lectures on geology and mineralogy introduced Darwin to debate about Earth's history. Darwin also hired John Edmonton, a freed black slave from Guyana, to give him private lessons on preparation of stuffed animals. One of the most important techniques that Darwin learned from Edmonton was to preserve birds rapidly before decomposition set in, a skill that likely benefited Darwin in preserving his Galapagos finches during the voyage on the HMS Beagle. Darwin spent much of his time outside of classroom, exploring the Scottish countryside and collecting specimens. He also interacted with diverse group of students and freethinkers. And these experiments, rather than his formal medical training, nurtured his skills as naturalist. Darwin also befriended with Robert Grant, shown here on the image from the Wikipedia, who was marine biologist who taught Darwin how to study invertebrates and exposed him to early ideas of transmutation, a precursor to evolution theory. One day, Grant praised Lamarck evolutionary ideas. Lamarck claimed when environment changed, organisms had to change their behavior to survive. If animal began to use an organ more than that he has in the past, it would increase it in the lifetime. If giraffe, for example, stretch its neck for leaves, its neck will be longer. Its offspring will inherit the longer neck and continue stretching will make it even longer. On the other hand, organs that organisms stop using will shrink over generation. At the time of the publication, the theory was rejected by most of the scientists because it was in conflict with their religious beliefs. Experiments made by scientists in the 20th century disprove this theory. However, Lamarck's theory was a very remarkable first step in the thought about the origin of animals, because in his theory, animals change their initial characteristics without any interacting with God. Oops. So until the early 800s, all scientists in Europe believed in divine creation of Earth and its life. It was common belief that God created the world and all that was in it. As you can see here, the set of stamps from Israel that show how God created day by day all our Earth and everything in it. And all species were created by God for a particular role in nature. As the roles were fixed by the Creator from the beginning, there are no need for species to change. All fossilized bones and tools were assigned to either existing animals like crocodiles, animals that died in the biblical flood, or to remains of biblical giants or titans. As intensive study of nature started in the second half of the 1700s, scientists start to raise questions about diversity of life and how different species were related to each other. During the early 1800s, some naturalists started to propose theories about how life developed and the possibility of the extinction. They were puzzled at how any organism created by God could go extinct, and why did God allow some species to be vanished from the earth? One of the accepted theory in the 1800s about extinctions and was a theory proposed by George Cuvier, who often credited as father of paleontology, who claims that environmental change caused species to go extinct permanently, and new species were subsequently created, often believed to be by God's intervention to match to the new conditions. Now, after 2 years study in Edinburgh in 1828, Darwin went to Cambridge to study for Bachelor of Arts degree as the first step becoming an Anglican country parson. During his study at Cambridge, he became a close friend and follower of botany professor John Stevens Henslow. Yeah, again, image from the Wikipedia because there are no postage stamp or postmark that I can show. And Darwin was often called the man who works with Henslow, who actually inspired Darwin with a passion for the natural history. Darwin was also influenced by Adam Sidgwick, who was an important British geologist, and Darwin often accompanied Sedgwick in his geological voyages. In the summer of 1831, Hinslow was offered a place as naturalist to sail aboard a ship on the multiple-year voyage to survey South America. However, his wives persuaded him not to accept this offer. And as recognizing a perfect opportunity for his protege, Hinslow recommended that Charles Darwin, who had just earned his BA degree, join the global voyage. Charles was very excited about this opportunity, but his father was against it. And his father thought it would be waste of Darwin's time and distraction from Charles finding a proper career. Only when Charles' uncle, Joshua Wedgwood, convinced Charles' father to support his son, he provided to Charles all the required financial support. And the financial support was very crucial because the young Darwin will have to make the voyage on his own expenses. So Hinslow wrote to the ship's captain, Robert Fitzlow, telling him that Darwin was an ideal man to join the expedition. When they met, Charles Darwin and Robert Fitzlow, they were both very young and educated men. So Charles was only 22 and Robert was actually 26. They both belonged to the social elite and like each other from the first meeting. So this was actually very important because due to the limited space on the ship, both would have to share a small cabin during the entire voyage. And here on the bottom side of the slides, you can see stamp of Great Britain that shows this ship, HMS Beagle, and few postmarks also from Great Britain. Now, the voyage of His Majesty's ship, HMS Beagle, started on December 27th in 1831 in Plymouth and lasted almost 5 years. 3.5 years were spent along the east and west coast of South America, because the main goal of the expedition was to complete a survey of the South American coastline. Their observation increased the accuracy of maps of the coast and made travel along the coast by British merchantmen safer, because at this time there were many accidents and many ships just sunk at the coast of the South America. During this voyage, Charles Darwin visited numerous locations. So as you can see here on stamp of Cuba, it's not that it's show only the ship, it also shows the map of the voyage and list of all the locations that Charles Darwin visited on board of HMS Beagle. In many locations, Darwin made his observation and experiments while staying a long time on their shore, while Fitzroy with the crew actually surveyed the coastline from the sea side. During the 5 years voyage, Darwin spent over 3 years on land. During voyage and during this voyage, Darwin sent boxes with collected specimens to his daughter, Professor Hinslow in Cambridge, who received and stored them until Darwin's return. Okay. Now, Darwin's first major scientific study during the voyage began on Cape Verde, where he examined rock formation containing marine shells lying above basaltic lava flows. This fossil-ferrous limestone over lava puzzled him and led him to question conventional geological theories. He noted how the layers indicate uplift on land and long-term geological changes. Idea central to the uniformitism, which he was beginning to embrace, influenced by Charles Lyell principle of geology, published in 1830, a copy of which was given to him by Captain Fitzroy. In Chile, Darwin became one of the first Europeans to experience strong earthquake, and the earthquake triggered actual tsunami, which caused a destruction of Talcahuano, causing the death of least of 50 people. Darwin saw signs that that land just been raised. High in the Andes, he saw sea shells and several fossil trees that have grow on the sandy beach. The earthquake deepened his belief in Charles Lyell's theory of gradual geological change. On the way back home, HMS Beagle arrived at Cocos Island, where Captain Fitzroy had been directed to study the coral reef, known as atolls, and try to understand their origin. Darwin suggested that they originally grew around extinct volcanoes, which then sunk into the sea, leaving the reefs as isolated circles. The corals keep growing to maintain the position of the reef in the shallow water. In 1950s, the Darwin's theory was confirmed when scientists bored through the atolls in the Pacific Ocean and found volcanic rocks underlying the corals. The visit of Charles Darwin on the Cocos Island was commemorated on the stamps in 1981, where we can see here the coral reef, the volcanic rocks, and piece of his notes also on this souvenir ship. His visit to the Galapagos Island of Ecuador in 1835 was one of the turning points for Charles Darwin. Ecuador is a very small country in the west coast of the northern South America, and it also includes the Galapagos Islands, you can see here, in Pacific Ocean, about 1,000 kilometers west of the mainland. The sounding measures done by Captain Fitzroy revealed that the ocean at the islands was extremely deep. Darwin speculated that the species found on the Galapagos Islands likely originated from the South American mainland. Observing that the island's climate and geology were quite different from those of mainland, Darwin eventually concluded that species must be capable of change, adapting over time to new environments. He also questioned why animals have such short lifespan and don't live forever, especially if they were created by God for a specific purpose and had remained unchanged since the moment of the creation. His observation and collection of endemic species on this island contributed to the inception of Darwin's theory of evolution by the natural selection. Darwin speculated that the distribution of mockingbirds, finches, and the tortoises might undermine the stability of species. During the voyage, Darwin collected many specimens of exotic plants and animals, as well as many fossils from South America, especially in Argentina and Uruguay. Among many marine shell fossils, Darwin discovered remains of big prehistoric mammals such as Megatherium, the extinct species closely related to modern sloths, but much larger. Glyptodon, a massive armored mammal resembling a giant armadillo. Taxodon, a large extinct hoofed mammal with a strange mix of features like hippo and rodent. And Macrauchenia, a long-necked extinct mammal that looks like camel cross with llama or something like this. Upon Darwin's return to England, Darwin was introduced to leading expert in comparative anatomy and paleontology at the Royal College of Surgeons in London, Richard Owen, who coined the word dinosaurs in 1841. Their collaboration began very professionally and cordially, with Owen helping describe and classify the fossils Darwin had found. Owen even contributed to Darwin zoology of the voyage of the Beagle, published in several volumes between 1839 and 1843, specifically the section on fossil mammals. These fossils discoveries raised many questions by Darwin, and they pushed him into thinking on the primeval world and what had caused those giant beasts to die out. The image of the Richard Owen that you can see here is actually from the cassette of FDC of Great Britain from 1991, issued to commemorate 150th anniversary of dinosaurs identification by Sir Richard Owen. Unfortunately, there are no postage stamps of Owen, but many stamps of Charles Darwin, of course. Now, after Charles Darwin returned from voyage in October 1836, to his actual surprise, his name was already known to the scientific community of England because his daughter from Cambridge, Professor Henslow, has read some letters of Darwin's at scientific meetings and had them even printed. After a short visit at his family, Darwin returned to Cambridge, where he stayed for 2 years, and then took house in London to be close to the scientific experts and societies that were describing and discussing his many specimens from the voyage. Darwin's collection and papers, published by Henslow on Darwin's behalf, and published by Darwin himself upon his return in England, proved to the scientific elite that young Darwin was a naturalist of highest caliber, and his father was very proud about his youngest son and provided him actually financial support. In January 1839, Darwin married his cousin Emma Wigwood, and in September 1842, Darwin with his wife and first 2 children moved outside of London to a village called Down, where he purchases so-called Down House, where he lived for the rest of his life, while his home became his experimental station, laboratory, and workshop. And actually, this estate was not just a house, but more like a farm with many service animals living there, like a cow for milk, chickens for eggs, horse, donkey, dogs, cats, and so on. And for his actual research on the artificial selection as an analog process to natural selection in nature, Darwin kept domesticated pigeons. Darwin can also employ numerous actual domestic servants, including like butler, footman, coachman, cooks, gardeners, and so on. Today, his house is managed by English Heritage Company, a company that had made this house as Museum of Charles Darwin, and they also issue their own postage stamps to be used on international postcards under license of the Royal Mail, of course. And here you can see example of such postcards that was sent to me by a friend a while ago when he visited this location. Now, when Darwin returned to England from the voyage, he began organizing his notes and studying specimens in order to start publishing articles on different parts of his collection. Observation on geographic distribution, especially on the Galapagos Islands, and fossils raised questions about how species originate and change. In mid-July 1837, Darwin started a notebook B on transmutation of species, where he explores the idea that the species change over time, breaking away from the fixed species model. And on page 36, he even wrote, I think, and draw this first evolutionary tree. So this evolutionary tree is depicted on the first day cover of Ireland, issued in 2009, and on stamp of Cuba, also issued on the same year. Now, Darwin's theory explains the development of life from trivial to more complex. The theory includes humans' evolution, so he didn't directly mention humans at publication of the original species. Darwin proposed that species change over time through a process called natural selection, where individuals with traits better suited to their environment and more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on those advantage traits. This doesn't necessarily mean the strongest or fastest, but rather the one whose traits, either physical or behavioral, gives them an advantage in their specific environment. In September 1854, Darwin started to work on his theory of evolution full-time and no longer work on other projects. In May 1856, he began writing up his theory for publication. On 18 June 1858, Darwin received a paper from Alfred Russel Wallace, so here, describing his natural selection theory, where Wallace claimed species evolve by adapting to their environment. When Darwin read Wallace's paper, he feared being overshadowed because Wallace's article was nearly ready for publication. To resolve this situation fairly, Darwin's friend, famous botaniker Joseph Hooker, proposed a joint presentation, allowing both men to share credit for the theory. Wallace, who was still in Indonesia and at the time, and who was far less known than Darwin, was very delighted by this decision. And on 1st July 1858, an article that comprising and resulting from the joint presentation of Darwin and Wallace was read for the Linnean Society in London. And at the end of August of the same year, the Darwin-Wallace article was printed. In November the following year, the first edition on the origin of species by means of natural selection, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life, commonly known as just on the origin of species, was published by Charles Darwin in London. The stamp of Cuba here reproduces the painting Darwin received Wallace manuscript, where Charles Darwin is sitting on the left, Charles Lyell standing in the center, and Joseph Hooker seated on the right. The stamp of Great Britain from 2010 is the only postage stamp of Alfred Wallace, if you don't count some stamps of some African countries produced on their behalf by some infamous agency in Lithuania. And this postmark from the Great Britain is probably only the one that issued today to commemorate their joint work on the theory of evolution. On the origin of species was written for non-specialist readers and attracted widespread interest upon its publication. After more than 20 years since this young, promising naturalist returned from the voyage on his HMS Beagle, Darwin had become a hardly regarded scientist. Therefore, his findings were taken very seriously, and the evidence he presented generated scientific, philosophical, and religious discussion. Many scientists, including Richard Owen, did not accept the theory of Darwin due to their religious beliefs. Thomas Henry Huxley, depicted here on the postcard and here on the postmark, who was English biologist and anthropologist, specialized in comparative anatomy, becomes known as Darwin's bulldog for his advocacy on Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Charles Darwin, who hated public appearance, never debated his theory by himself and let his good friend Huxley manage all the debates. In April 1860, Huxley even coined the term Darwinism. Over the years, Darwin continued to refine his arguments based on scientific feedback and public criticism. He published another 5 editions of The Origin of Species, when the last one was published in 1872. Now, one of the arguments of criticizer of Darwin on Darwin's evolution theory was the missing of transitional forms in fossils record. They claim that it was impossible for animals to evolve over time. The first such transitional fossil was discovered in 1861, only 2 years after publication of The Origin of Species, and it was the famous Archaeopteryx. Archaeopteryx fossil is clearly showed bird-like features and reptile features. Teeth in beaks and clawed organs on wings as long as a bony tail. And it seems to confirm Darwin's theory, and had science become a key piece of evidence for the origin of birds. The transitional fossils debate and confirmation of evolution. The discovery of first Archaeopteryx fossil in Germany in 1861 caused a lot of confusion, as no birds were known from so far back. And some people even thought that it's maybe not a fossil, but just an angel. And this specimen with poorly preserved skull, but with clear impression of feathers, mainly on the wings and tail, was purchased by Natural History Museum in London, and it's known today as the London specimen. A better, almost perfect fossils of Archaeopteryx was discovered either in 1874 and 75, and was purchased by the Natural History Museum in Berlin, and it's known today as Berlin species. Almost all stamps of Archaeopteryx show actually Berlin species. So you can see here on the left stamp from the Great Britain. As it now is probably not very clear what kind of fossil it is, but if you rotate it, you clearly see that this is exactly the same Berlin specimen as it was shown on stamp of Germany in 2011. In 1864, the Neanderthal school, known today as Gibraltar I, was brought out of obscurity and presented at meeting in the British Association for the Advancement of Science at Norwich, England. Charles Darwin was not present, but the school was later examined by him together with Thomas Huxley, who concluded that the school was that of an extinct human species. And Charles Darwin did make fleeting reference to the Gibraltar one in his 1871 publication, The Descent of Man. So here you can see a cover with invitation to the meeting of the British Association for the Advancements of Science, but from 1860, actually 76 and not 64. And the souvenir sheet of Gibraltar shows the story of discovery of the school, and here you can better see the school and stamp of Charles Darwin, also with two schools of the prehistorical humans. Now, Charles Darwin died on April 19th, 1882 in his home at Down House. He had expected to be buried in St. Mary's churchyard and Down, but at the request of Darwin's colleagues and after public and parliamentary petition, he was honored with burial in Westminster Abbey, close to Sir Isaac Newton's grave. Huxley, Hooker, and Wallace were all pallbearers at the funeral, and Darwin's statue was placed in the main staircase, keeping watch on over Hitz Hall of the Natural History Museum in London in 1885, only 4 years after the museum was opened. So in the second part of the presentation, we will show some philatelic issues related to the various anniversary of Charles Darwin. The first time that Charles Darwin appeared on philatelic item was a stamp issued by Ecuador in 1936, when the Post Authority of Ecuador issued a set of 6 stamps centrally of Darwin voyage to the Galapagos Island. Later, in the same years, 5 of 6 stamps were issued overprinted with official for the government mail use only, and only 1 stamp of the set with the map of the Galapagos was not overprinted. The stamps were planned for the 1935. You can even see this year is printed on the bottom right corner of every stamp. But due to technical and political issues, the stamps were issued in the following year. And only postmark, it was in use on the day of the opening ceremony for Darwin's monument on September 17th, 1935, which took place on one of the Galapagos Islands. Next time, stamps of Charles Darwin were issued in 1959 to commemorate 150th anniversary of Charles Darwin. And this year, only few socialist European countries issue a stamp to commemorate his birthday and 100th anniversary of publication of his most famous work on the origin of species. The first stamp was issued by German Democratic Republic, this green one, who issued the stamps in 1958. And in 1959, it was actually Czechoslovakia, then was Poland, Romania, and Soviet Union. Also, Yugoslavia issued a postmark with portrait of Charles Darwin. And the only The only other country to commemorate Charles Darwin was Great Britain, who issued this postmark that I showed on the previous slide in regard to the century of Darwin and Wallace's evolution theory. The evolution theory of Darwin was taught in the school in the socialist country instead of Bible, because according to the communist ideology, religion is a sort of spiritual booth in which the slaves of capital drown their human's image, their demand for life, more or less worthless of man. Next time, it was 1982, 100 years since the death of Charles Darwin, and this was the first time that Charles Darwin appeared on postage stamps of Great Britain. Unlike in 1959, none of the socialist countries issued stamp in honor of Charles Darwin. And what you actually see here on the right side, so this is a presentation pack of Harrison and Sons, company that printed these postage stamps. And the next time Charles Darwin appeared on postage stamp of Great Britain, it was in 2006, in the set of 150th anniversary of the Natural Portrait Gallery. And here on the bottom right, you can see portrait of Charles Darwin in this gallery. Actually, the same year, four countries issued the set of 4 stamps to commemorate Darwin's visit on their island: Ascension Island, Falklands Island, Mauritius, and St. Helena. Each set contained 4 stamps: portrait of Charles Darwin, one of the tools that Darwin used during his voyage, an animal that Darwin met on particular island, and the image of the ship on HMS Beagle. And some of these actually stamps also exist with omitted colors. So as you can see here, some examples that on the sides you just see the white color, when on the normal stamps they are colored here in blue, in yellow, for example. One of the set looks a little bit different. So as you see on the Mauritius stamp, we see here the old Darwin, and while on the other 3, they show the Darwin in young age, more or less as he looked when he visited the islands. Another stamp here, it's also a bit of unusual because it shows Charles Darwin on the back of the elephant. Even so, there is no natural population of elephants on the island of Mauritius. Darwin indeed rode an elephant during his stay on the island. The elephant was provided to him by the governor, who had actually received the elephant as a gift from some Indian Maharaja. There was another 2 issues in 1982 by 2 countries never visited by Charles Darwin, like Antigua and Barbuda, and Sao Tome and Principe. So these stamps with dinosaurs is very beautiful stamps, but Darwin didn't study any dinosaurs, and most of the prehistoric animals, because here actually Dimetrodon, it's actually not a dinosaur at all. They were all, actually most of them were even discovered after the death of Darwin. In 1986, 3 other countries issued stamps to commemorate actual century of Darwin's visit. It was like Australia, who issued this pre-printed cover with imprinted stamp of Charles Darwin. It was at Cocos Island, and Ecuador, where issued stamp of Galapagos including one stamp of Charles Darwin here in the middle, and the souvenir sheet that shows the map of the 16 islands of Galapagos group. The turn of millennium was commemorated by many countries of the world, and 3 of them show Charles Darwin on their stamp. So here you see a mini sheet of Palau, and Darwin here is on the bottom. Then here is a stamp of Darwin on mini sheet of Uganda, and here we see a stamp or mini sheet of Mongolia. So the sheet of the left is actually proof, is not issued version. And on this sheet, so you can see every stamp has direct connection to Darwin. On the right, we see the issued version where many stamps were replaced, and they even made of different kind of color and different kind of different style. So on this on issued version, for whatever reason, Post Authority of Mongolia decided to add or to replace stamps and show fauna of Mongolia, included the most famous dinosaurs of Mongolia, Tarbosaurus Batar, who was discovered in 1946. In 2009, there was here marked both 200th anniversary of birth of Charles Darwin and the 150th anniversary of publication of his most famous work on the regional species. To commemorate these milestones, many postal authorities around the world issued postage stamps and postmarks featuring Charles Darwin. The first country issued a commemorative stamp was Bosnia and Herzegovina, who issued their stamp in July 2008. And the last countries were Paraguay and Palau, which released their Darwin stamps in 2010. So here on the right, I show only few examples because there are many. If you like to see all of them, you're welcome to visit this page or just make a photo of this QR code. The same year, Great Britain issued self-adhesive stamps of Charles Darwin in jigsaw puzzle shape, actually symbolizing how Darwin was able to piece together elements of the puzzle to formulate his groundbreaking theory of natural selection. Each stamp is dedicated to a different discipline influenced by Darwin, like zoology, anthropology, geology, botany, anthropology, and here is a stamp of Charles Darwin to himself. In addition, Royal Mail also issued a souvenir sheet that shows a map of the Galapagos and some key animals who live on these islands. This actual souvenir sheet of Gibraltar is kind of unusual because it shows many photos and documents related to Charles Darwin that you cannot see on any other stamp of postmark. Here, for example, photo of a very young Charles Darwin with one of his sisters, and here his monument in the Natural History Museum in London. And these 4 stamps from the set shows Charles Darwin and 4 of the books that he wrote during his life, or 4 major books. Now, if you, the reverse side of these stamps even have some small text related to the books that are shown on the stamps, while the proof version of these stamps have blank reverse side. The mini sheet of Jersey issued in 2017 was printed on very thin piece of wood. However, it was valid for postage, so when you stick it, it was possible uh, to use it to pay postage, and here is a cover that was sent to me around this time. Charles Darwin also quite popular in the stamps related to the explorers or great personalities. So here you can see example of set of Solomon Island, of Ascension, where Darwin shown among other great personalities. Unfortunately, in recent years, some countries never visited by Darwin start to place him on their stamps to make money from collectors. It is quite common to see Charles Darwin next to dinosaurs on their stamps, but in Darwin's time, dinosaurs were seen as gigantic beasts that seems to have little connection to earlier or later types of animals. Therefore, they didn't contribute to Darwin's work on his evolution theory. Now, I put here a very short list of articles, including articles on my site, on my actual website about Charles Darwin. Here also two books that if you like to deep more. So the first book is about Charles Darwin, about his life with many images and photos, and another book about fossil actual collection of Charles Darwin. So by this opportunity, I also would like to thank to my friends, Mr. Peter Brandhuber from Germany and Dr. Peter Voice from the USA for their valuable actual support in creating this presentation. So now I think that we are done. And if you have any question, you are pleased to ask me, or if you watch this video later on, so you can just email me.
That was a wonderful presentation, Michael.
Thank you.
And I mean, are those all stamps in your collection right now? I mean,
Yes,
from your collection?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I saw that beautiful postcard from Down House to you, written to
Right.
you.
Right.
That was beautiful. And what a wonderful way to portray his life. It's a lovely journey through his, to see the entire thing. Uh, we will take questions, but before we do that, and I'm sure because some of these questions can go for a while, I just wanted to thank you and have a Dr. Awad do the vote of thanks, and post vote of thanks, we will take questions.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, Dr. Awad.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the organizers of this lecture series to celebrate late Dr. V.D. Vartak birth centenary year, I'm here to present the formal vote of thanks. First, on behalf of organizers, I thank Michael Kogan, a noted paleontologist, philatelist from Germany, for accepting our invitation and delivering this online lecture on Charles Darwin in philately. We express our sincere appreciation to him for this enlightening talk. What a wonderful, excellent compilation to portray the life history in the form of stamps. It was as if we were watching a documentary on Charles Darwin. Excellent presentation. We are thankful to all the members of Maharashtra Vruksha Samvardhini, Institute of Natural History Education Society Pune, and the Department of Botany, Archie College, Mumbai, who are involved in making the whole arrangement, flyer, and helping the technical aspects of this particular session. All the participants, students, teachers from various departments who have responded to this invitation and attending this session in such a large number for this program also deserves special thanks. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel of Mission Devrai for further information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to join you and present my passion.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent presentation. Thank you so much for wonderful work and very deep study.
Thank you.
Yes,
Rajgopal, I think first announce our next programs.
Yes,
that will be better, and then we'll go to question answer session.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I was going to do. And yeah, there are a couple of more programs lined up. I'll just quickly let you know about that, and we will take the questions. On 21st, we have Dr. Mukund Deshpande, who will be talking about mycology on stamps, and later
next month, 21st.
Yeah, July 21st, July
21st.
Yeah. And before that, we also have Dr. Asad Rahmani, acclaimed scientist, ornithologist, and conservationist, and the former director of BNHS, and he will be talking about his experiences. So, as Awad sir mentioned, take a look at our YouTube channel, as well as you can join our WhatsApp group if you haven't already, to get the intimations of these events. So going back to this beautiful present, Awad sir aptly called it like a beautiful documentary on Charles Darwin. And it was all very colorfully presented, Michael. I loved those stamps about Darwin riding an elephant in Mauritius, and all those funny stamps with Darwin and with dinosaurs, because those are all the associations that are in our mind all the time. We always associate, and thanks for all the wonderful information you have presented about these. Actually, I also wanted to, there was these interesting things about, there was a stamp about Darwin with his pistols, and those also bring to mind the times he lived. I think we don't associate Darwin with as pistols as part of his tools, and those were also wonderful to think. I also noticed when you mentioned about the history of how the stamps were released in Darwin's commemoration. A lot of these were released, at least in the early phases, by the East Bloc countries, the communist countries at that time, even before any Western or even any UK, for the matter, or even any other sharing the Anglo-Saxon heritage.
Correct.
What would you be able to enlighten us, and what could be the possible reasons behind this?
I don't know. So the very first stamp was issued by Ecuador, right? And it also was driven by actually American actual biologist, who wanted to commemorate Charles Darwin on stamps. I actually wrote an article about him, and I think I even put a link. If not, I will share. No. Yes, so I put a link to my article on my site about actually history of design of this stamp. I don't know why Great Britain or other West countries, they didn't actually commemorate Charles Darwin earlier. So in 35 or 59. I just know that in the socialist countries, the Darwin evolution was the only accepted theory of development of life. And probably this was actually the reason that they commemorated him. I actually was very wondered why they didn't in 1982. Because it looks like
exactly.
East country actually commemorate him on 59 and West country on 82. So I don't know.
Yeah, that was very peculiar and very interesting. Sharma sir, he is also here. Can you, would you like to give your feedback, sir? Vartak sir?
I'm yet to unmute. Now, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, the presentation was excellent. Not only excellent, it was actually learning for all biologists how the life came into. And I mean, Darwin's theory is universally accepted, though some doubts here and there. That will be always there, I mean, the life is evolving, and no concrete theory can be constant. Rather, there will be some changes here and there. But overall, it was excellent presentation and really very good.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I also seen that some people in the chat asking me to share the presentation.
Yes, I'm Dr. Phadke here. Hello?
Yes.
Am I audible? Yeah. Excellent presentation. In the same context, I would like to ask, you must be having a lot of stamps related to Captain Cook's voyage along with Joseph Banks, who deserves a lot of attention. And he was an excellent flower hunter, and I read and got fascinated by his voyages, especially the Australian adventure. Do you have such collection of stamps related to him?
No, because my collection is about paleontology and paleoanthropology.
Okay.
And Cook was just explorer.
Yeah.
So I may have probably him in one of the sets of Darwin of something similar, because they're quite common that paleontologists of Darwin issued in sets with other personality. I know that a book about Charles Darwin life through the Philately. It was written by some English guy who is passed like 5 years ago or something. But this guy also wrote a book about Captain Cook and his life through the Philately. So maybe if you go to the eBay and try to search for this book, with some luck, you can find it.
Yeah, we'll try definitely. Thank you very much.
Michael, wonderful presentation. And actually, I wanted to introduce him as a paleontologist, but Michael only told me that you don't introduce me as a paleontologist. I'm a basically engineer. But all of you, we must have seen that how in-depth information he has given to us. It is actually better than paleontologist also, we can say.
Oh.
And that the best stamp actually, and how stamp give the information, that is very important. He's a very good philatelist also, and the information what he has given. Otherwise, people just collect the stamps without knowing the information behind that. But Michael today showed everything, stamps as well as the story for every stamp. That is very important.
Yes,
And the
absolutely.
stamp which I most like, that was actually from Cuba, which shows Darwin along with Charles Lyell, father of geology, as well as Hooker, a botanist. So that was a fantastic. That is actually one of the very rare stamp actually.
Yeah, correct.
Where you can see three people from three different subjects, experts,
Yes.
authorities. They were sitting together.
Right. Yeah, so this is set of 4 stamp of Cuba. It's very interesting because on one stamp they show these 2 persons who never presented on other stamps, like Lyell and
yes.
they also show the stamp, another stamp with map of the voyage and even list of all the location. I think this is the only stamp that shows this map and the location. And they also have a stamp that shows this life of tree of Charles Darwin, and I think that this is also only probably 1 or 2 stamps that show it available. Yeah. So yes, it was very interesting issue of Cuba.
Okay,
so
great.
I think here in the chat a question how Charles Darwin explained existence of dinosaurs. So from what I know, he didn't deal with dinosaurs at all.
Right.
And for example, in 1854, I think, there was opening of the first reconstructions of dinosaurs in Crystal Palace in London. and they built the 4 or 5 existing known actual dinosaurs as oversized lizard, because at this time they have no full skeleton of dinosaurs. So the first dinosaur that was studied by Buckland or Mantel, they were just few bones, maybe jaw, maybe femur, maybe something else. So they was just compare these bones to the existing animals and speculated what it can be. And if I remember well, the first skeleton of dinosaurs, it's actually iguanodons from the Bernissart location in Belgium. And I think that they were found already after death of Darwin. If I remember well, they were found in 1884 when Darwin died in 1882. So this is why I say that when you see stamp Darwin with dinosaurs, it's just nonsense.
True.
But there are few stamps of Darwin with fossils like Taxodon or this sloth, and this indeed makes sense. And there are some other stamps of fossils with reconstruction of the fossils based on the of the discoveries of Charles Darwin in Patagonia.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see so many things came together when, as Darwin started thinking about the natural selection as the process for evolution.
Right.
You mentioned he collected fossils and he knew about comparative anatomy. All these things kind of came together, and he almost got superseded by Wallace there.
Right.
Very interesting. And I think Michael has shared a lot of information through his presentation, and he is going to put that up in a PDF also. His website, it's again in the meeting chat. You can look it up. It's a treasure trove of a lot of information. As he mentioned, not just the stamps and the covers, but there is a lot of related information to read. So it makes a wonderful reading too. So I request all of you to do visit his website. And I again thank Michael for joining us and presenting his wonderful material. Thank you so much, Michael.
Okay, it was my pleasure.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we can close the session, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Perfect,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for excellent session.
It's my pleasure.
Michael, if possible, can you share your email ID?
My email ID is always on my website, so on whatever
Yeah.
page of my sites you're going, but yes, I can copy paste it, no problem.
Yeah.
It's basically admin and the name of my site.
Okay. The same one above, shared?
Yeah. I just place it in the chat.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. I would like to invite you as a speaker for the UK club. They are more
Okay.
interested in knowing these things. UK and USA, my main club membership.
Okay.
So
My pleasure, yes. No problem.
I will
I also
definitely.
gave early this year talk on the virtual Stampex in London.
Yeah, my UK club is basically having a lot of interest in knowing all these things.
Okay. Good. So just email me. Now you have my email.
Yeah, I will send you email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. This all team doing great job.
Okay. So see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.